So we've talked about President Trump being in Saudi Arabia today, trying to make these deals for the United States, but doing so as he's fighting the trade war with China. And he announced an economic partnership with the Saudis. He pushed for more investments in American businesses, made a big speech about that earlier in the day today. And it comes right after the White House had announced that kind of truce with China, with the tariffs coming down from these levels, the tariffs on Chinese goods down to 30%, the Chinese lowering their tariffs to like 10%. So now, what's next? Let's bring Brandon Daniels in on this, CEO of the supply chain AI company, Exiger. We always talked about supply chains, and now we have this kind of 90-day period. So I am interested to know from your perspective about what we should be thinking about in the 90 days, between the U.S. and China and how everybody kind of deals with it.
Yeah, I think a lot of our customers, Connell, are right now thinking about how they can get ahead of whatever is going to happen at the end of these 90 days, right? There's still a lot of uncertainty. So people are looking to compose their inventory, increase their warehouse stock levels, ensure that they've got a barrier between whatever happens at the end of these 90 days and whatever's going to be the end trade deal that we'll see after Trump and Xi come to terms.
So it's easier to do it, I guess, on the inventory level. So they're going to pile it up, and worst comes to worst, they got a few extra, widgets, whatever they're selling, right? Because earlier we were talking about it. We see companies doing this in different ways. They're trying to get ahead of things, but at the same time, maybe they don't want to make moves that they're going to regret later.
Yeah, you can't assume that there isn't going to be a more nuanced deal at the end of the day. Look, right. What the Trump administration is trying to do, and we talked about this at the very beginning, before the Liberation Day, before the global reciprocal tariffs were paused. I mean, what's happening is they've got the pool ball strategy, right? So first they've broken up all the pool balls. That was Liberation Day. That was the reciprocal tariffs. They paused that, and they've started this path of very precise shots that they're taking, right? So China, which a lot of people didn't expect to be the first on the docket, but because of the escalation of the trade war between the U.S. and China, it had to take center stage. But China's come down to pretty unprecedented levels with the 30% on Chinese goods into the United States and the 10% tariff on U.S. goods into China. That's pretty significant. And then, when you're seeing other deals like the deal between the UK and the US, it's not just the specific goods that are being lowered on tariffs. It's actually the types of goods. So you saw deals between Rolls-Royce and Boeing. You saw specific areas of aerospace defense and steel start to come down. So there are really nuanced areas of U.S. manufacturing that the administration is trying to push on really hard.
Right.
And you're starting to see that reveal.
Are we going to end up with anything drastically different, do you think, at the end of the day versus what we have now? Because, and that'll be the test, I suppose, about whether it's all worth it or not. I was talking earlier about how it seems to me a lot of companies don't want to raise their prices now, for example, and say, oh, we have to because of the tariffs, because they don't want to make their customers angry if we end up with no tariffs or we end up back where we started, type of thing.
In a lot of industries, they eat the tariffs, Connell. Like in 2018, right. We had steel tariffs. The industry had to eat it. Certain buyers like the Defense Department, they absorbed it. But at the end of the day, you're right. There's only a certain level of price increase that the customers can sustain. But we've had some good economic news to offset that, right? We've seen inflation cool. We've seen the markets kind of rebound. They've been volatile, but they've rebounded as this new tariff strategy has emerged. I think at the end of the day, Connell, the goal of this is to get U.S. manufacturing and U.S. goods to be a marketable industry, right? And I think if we can move that 3%, 5%, 10% in the right direction, that's a major accomplishment, even if the tariffs don't change as dramatically as people might expect.
Okay. That makes sense. It's always good analysis, good insights, knowing so many players in the industry. Brandon, thanks. Brandon Daniels.